AITA for selling out on my grandma's secret recipe? Some light reading for you today. I am not Oop. Oop is you, Grandma's Cakes. She posted in our AITA. Mood spoiler. Happy ending. Less than. First post. July 8, 2021. My grandma was a wonderful baker and had a secret cake recipe that she had created herself. It used some very uncommon spice combinations in the cake and frosting that produced a very unique but delicious cake. She would always make it for our big family gatherings, and it was always the most popular dessert. When she got sick a couple years ago, she decided to share the recipe so that it wouldn't die with her, and offered to give it to any of her kids or grandkids who wanted it. I was the only one who asked for it before she died. I don't know why no one else did, as there were several other bakers in the family. After she passed, I took over bringing the cake to family gatherings, and everyone was happy to still be able to enjoy it. I also started making cakes for friends and family, and then for others by word of mouth to make some extra cash on the side. My business was really starting to pick up around the time the pandemic hit, as people who'd had my cakes recommended me to their own friends and family. It soon became too much to keep up with in my tiny home kitchen, so I reached out to a friend who had a catering business with a professional kitchen. Since her business took a big hit with COVID, I made a deal to use her kitchen to make my cakes and help supplement the takeout business she started to get by. My cousin, Jane, recently found out that Grandma's recipe was one of my best sellers, and said that I had no right to sell out Grandma's recipe, especially after keeping it all to myself. She had asked for it late last year, but I said no. I told her that she had the chance to get it from Grandma before she died, and didn't seem to care enough to bother then. Since Jane had lost her job, she had decided to try selling cakes too, which I think is why she had asked for the recipe. Unfortunately for her, it's not going well. The reviews on her cakes have not been good, and no one has been recommending her. Jane said that the only reason my business was doing well because of Grandma's cake, which she wanted to sell too, and my access to a professional kitchen. The kitchen does help with being able to work on multiple orders at once. But my business is doing well because I actually make good cakes. Jane is a good cook, but not a good baker. She doesn't follow measurements properly, and instead does everything to taste, which works for cooking, but not baking. Using too much or too little of any ingredients like flour, eggs or butter, or even their starting temperature will not give you the result you want. Jane is demanding that I either stop selling Grandma's cake, or teach her the recipe so she can too. I refused, and said she was a hypocrite for wanting to sell the cake herself after getting angry at me for doing so. When she gave me the recipe, Grandma said that her biggest regret was never opening a bakery like she had dreamed. My ultimate dream now too. I think she'd love so many people enjoying her cake. Oop is voted NTA. Update post. November 20th, 2022. Firstly, I opened my bakery. I found a great spot near my city's office park, main commuter route to the big city of a caterer, takeout deli that closed. We've been open since June, and business has been great with all the morning, evening traffic, and the lunch crowd from the business park. We sell cakes, pastries, breads, buns, etc. Typical bakery stuff. I also have a cook who comes in for a few hours in the morning to do eggs and stuff for breakfast, sandwiches, wraps for the office folks. A few weeks after I opened, Jane stopped by. She apologized and confirmed what I and others had suspected. She only cared about the cake recipe because she was jealous of my success with my custom cake business. She'd always wanted to work in food, but hated the idea of losing her evenings and working in a high-pressure kitchen. So when I suddenly started doing so well, She thought she could do the same but didn't know how to start her own catering business. I apologized too for not wanting to share the recipe, but I was afraid that she would ruin my business by putting out bad cakes and no one would want to buy mine either. I then offered to have her come in 3 days a week to offer a stew of the day during the lunch rush. I had the extra kitchen space for it, and stews really do suit her style of cooking to taste. She loved the idea and they were an instant hit. She had complete freedom to create whatever 2 kinds of soup she wanted each day, just adding things on a whim, and they were always delicious. They got very popular quickly with the office folks, since there aren't many other takeout options nearby without driving about an extra 510 minutes out besides 2 fast food burger places. We soon expanded to her coming in every weekday, and then making a cold soup option on Fridays for the Saturday lunch. Closed Sundays. It's been a great arrangement, since she keeps her evenings, weekends and gets that creative control. In the last couple weeks we've also started doing take-home heat and serve dishes too, like lasagna, chicken, steak taco or sub kits, etc. I'll do the pasta, bread. She does the other prep and sauces. So far they've been very popular. She's tried her hand at baking a time or 2 again, and has declared she just doesn't have the patience for it, and hasn't asked for the recipe again, nor has any other family. P.S. For those wondering, Grandma had a standing offer for over a year before she died when she wasn't yet sick enough to stop baking, for anyone to come over and she'd personally walk them through the recipe. She was very sad and disappointed that I was the only one who did so. The other bakers would always make excuses about time or say, later. Shortly before she died she said that since I was the only one who bothered, the recipe was mine now. It's still my best-selling cake. Congrats, Oop. We all wish you the best with your business, and I'm glad you are able to keep your grandma's legacy alive. Purple Heart. Cheers to Reddit producing an ending that is not completely toxic and makes me question the integrity of humanity. What a beautiful compromise. I'm sad for Grandma that Moore didn't take her up on her offer. I'd be all over it, even though I don't bake that much. But thanks to Oop, her legacy lives on in the way she'd always dreamed less than 3. Now I really want to know what kind of cake it is. I don't even need the recipe. Just give me the general idea so I can daydream about it with more accuracy. I always enjoy the posts that don't end up with the Oop cutting off their family members. Unless they're terrible and deserve it, obviously. Hooray for happy endings. So glad to hear the outcome. Op stands their ground but still helps Jane come out ahead. A rare win-win. I love this for both of them. It's good to admit you're the toxic one, asshole sometimes, and grow, move on and have a good relationship afterwards. At the cousin, not Oop. That was very mature of both of them. Here is a thread to share seasoning tips, so that I can be lazy later and not hunt for them later. My tip: ground white pepper in apple pie is delicious. Don't add so much that you know what you're tasting. The tiniest whiff of cayenne or other hot pepper in any kind of sauce is also delicious. You want just a little bit, so that it heightens the flavor of the other seasonings without messing with the taste. I am a terrible cook, but before my oven broke I actually loved baking. One cake I take to every gathering etc. I got from my grandmother, and it's always the favorite. Oddly though, it's always the favorite cake and people rave about it. Almost no one asks for the recipe. Poor Grandma must have been so sad that only one person wanted her recipe. I am glad it worked out for Oop. Older bakers and recipe gatekeepers are so different than those nowadays. I always was told to keep our Indian Native American. Fry bread secret. When I was old enough to finally learn it, turns out there is no recipe card. We use our hand to measure dry ingredients, and my auntie focused on teaching me how to eyeball the perfect texture, technique to form it, and how to know when to pull it from the oil. Similarly, my mom's side of the family had a lentil soup recipe that was just proportions of ingredients and varied opinions on when to add on spices and how long to keep on low heat. Reminds me of a Hallmark movie, Cold Sweat Smile. A BORU post with a happy ending. Communication. Compromise and no family is cut out at the end? And there's actual cake? This was my favorite story to share yet. Now I just really wanna try that cake. Great advertising lol. There's a reason there are chefs and pastry chefs. Two completely different skill sets. Glad they could both find a way to be happy and successful. Yeah, but now I want to know what this cake is. Weary. YTA for not sharing the recipe with us. Your friends on the World Wide Web. Could have been the next petty ant pie. My fave. I don't understand why people think selling food is an easy way to get rich. Especially people who are in the midst of their failing attempt to sell food and get rich. Good outcome for OOP. I wish them so much success with their business. I need to know where this shop is in case it's near me. Then I can go get some of this grandma cake. I'm glad the recipe will be by the looks of it, a long-lasting legacy, and I hope OOP does the exact same thing when her time comes. I want to try the cake. Less than. I love that her cousin mended the rift and that her cousin is applying her talents where it counts. That's so lovely.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. EpicAriaCast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.